Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Shouting into the Void. Well, hey, I've lost count of how many of these we've done now.
Let's
Loads.
stop and work it out.
Oh, God, no, we can't. We're going to try and keep this concise because it is very hot in the UK today. And both of us are melting in our respective flats. As always, I'm Connor. And again, somewhere one of these ways, I think it is this way, is Liam. I committed there, so if I'm wrong, I will look like even more of an idiot.
Good.
And this is the show where we watch Doctor Who and then we come and we talk to each other about it. We have seen these episodes before, so this is a re-review or a rewatch. And we've started from 2005. We've watched all the way up to Series 5, Episode 5, Flesh and Stone, which is what we're on today. It's a good number, that is. And we won't have to worry about that stopping for at least another 5 seasons. So that's good. Until Series 14 is 14 episoades long, and then when we get to Series 20, that'll be 2 episodes long.
It's already stopped. It's fine.
I know. Blame Flux. Blame COVID. It's fine. You know, I mean, it was 10 episodes in Series 12, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. If you count Resolution, that's episode 11 of Series 11, but I'm not sure if that's...
No, I wouldn't count it. Anyway.
Bloody Chibnall.
Oh, I know, you ruined it. First of all, you ruined the nice, satisfactory number series, and then he took away Christmas specials. God, what else is he gonna do?
Rest in peace, Doctor Who.
God. But yes, we're not here to talk about the Chibnall era. We're here to talk about the Moffat era, specifically his first series, which is what we're in. This is the second. This is the second part of his first two-parter, isn't it? It's the first two-part of Series 5. This is the This is the final one, the culmination. If you missed last week, first of all, go and watch it. But if you don't want to, fine. Stuff happened. They had to stop some weeping angels. They got trapped on a planet with some soldiers. River Song's back. And then, Matt Smith blew up a orb and told everyone to jump. And that was where we left it. And we pick up. They've jumped, and now they're on the spaceship. And it's a bit more. It's more your cliche, I guess, Doctor Who episodes. You know, there's corridors and things they've got to run down. They've got to run away from.
It's based under CG, isn't it?
Yes, kind of. Yes, and there's a little bit of the overarching story plot in this. I say a little bit, a fair bit more than I thought there was going to be. But there is a bit of that in there. Amy has a weeping angel inside of her head, which is creepy and needs to be sorted out. The angels need to be stopped. The cracks need to be stopped, and they need to live. Hopefully, all of them.
Ideally.
Spoiler alert: only 3 do.
Guess which 3
main characters. But yes, what did you think of this episode as an episode and as a second part?
As an episode, I really enjoyed it. It's very good. I had a lot of fun with it again. Quite scary moments in there, quite tense moments, a few funny moments in there as well. I think this is probably Matt Smith's best performance thus far that we've seen, which is funny because it's like the second episode he filmed. But yeah, it's provided one of my favourite scenes in Doctor Who, as I've come to appreciate, having revisited it, because I haven't watched this in a while. But yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I think as a conclusion to the story, it's really satisfying. Obviously sets up a lot of future things as well for the finale upcoming, and beyond that, the whole Crack in Time thing. I like that they directly addressed the story arc. We will talk about that a bit more in detail later, I suppose. I do think part 1's stronger, but I still had a really good time with this one.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I did enjoy this. I enjoyed, a lot of the stuff that we sort of enjoyed about the first part. I didn't necessarily struggle for negatives this week. They were slightly easier to come by, but quite, a few of them are a little bit nitpicky more than anything. There was nothing in this that I was like, oh, that's terrible. I know there is the one big thing that everybody seems to dislike, which I didn't really have a problem with, which is obviously the angels moving on screen, under view of the viewer, but technically it's fine. I don't mind it. But yeah, it's a good episode. I think it's a good resolution. even if I don't think there's enough setup for the resolution in the first part, it kind of like feels like maybe they got stuck in a corner and went, how can we end this? And went, I know, we'll use this that we have in the back pocket. But that's fine. We can talk about that later on. And there's obviously a big issue at the end with the sort of how the episode ends and leads into the next one, which again we will come on to.
That's my one genuine problem with it. I think the rest of mine I can get over. I think in terms of negatives, but that one is just.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
but it's good because I expected that one to be like a thing, and it was a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't so you've forgotten and like, oh yeah,
oh yes, this. Yeah. Apart from the awful effect of the angels near the start that you mentioned.
Yes, maybe we'll come on to that as well. But yes, on this we normally have 3 positives and 3 negatives. We try and keep to that as much as we can. You can go first this week. What is your first positive?
My first positive is the Doctor and Octavian scene. Octavian's death scene, which sounds horrible.
Yeah, that's one of my like additional positives.
Yeah, for all you Ian and Glenn fans out there, apologies. But yeah, I've really come to appreciate that scene, having revisited it here. I generally think it's one of my favourite scenes in Doctor Who. So, that happened. That was a bit, okay, unexpected feels. Considering we met this guy in the last episode and stuff. And, I wasn't a huge fan of him in this episode leading up to this moment. So I was like, you little snake, he's stirring the pot. You promised you wouldn't. She did nothing. Yeah. But yeah, I really liked the turnaround of that when he gets caught by the angel and stuff. That just a setup of, how they have the angel approach him is terrifying. And just brutal, just like that, his life's over. I'm like, well, there's no getting out of this then. Whoopsie. Don't turn your back, don't look away. Listen to the man. So yeah, I liked just the setup in general. But just the whole thing kind of dealing with his faith, and even more so knowing where this whole church and versus the Doctor thing kind of ends up. I really like the kind of the tragedy behind that, and unknowingly setting up some kind of resentment towards the Doctor from that church in the first place is great. I think it's one of Matt Smith's finest performances thus far, that scene. Ian Glenn's fantastic in it as well. But just the tears in the Doctor's eyes as he's like, there's nothing I can do here. I think it's great. I think it's incredibly well written, the whole exchange that they have. I did write a few specific lines down. But just, I wish I got to know you better. And he's like, I think you knew me at my best. But I think the big thing for me was an excellent bit of writing and some acting from Ian Glenn is when the Doctor's like, ready? And he just goes, content. So he's not ready. But just in one word, it conveys he's made peace with this. He's very accepting of it. There's nothing he can really do about it. He's not going to be angry about it. He's not going to be sad about it. Even though he's not happy that this is going to, be the end of his life. And that's just one word and one kind of delivery of that line. And I think that just says so much about his character and adds so much layers to it. And, it's not like this big swelling music or anything. It's a very kind of quiet scene until you hear the awful snapping of his neck when the Doctor turns around, which is horrendous. But I just absolutely adored that scene. I think it says a lot about the Doctor's compassion when he needs it, especially in an episode where he was very angry and shouting. It's a stressful situation, but I do think he was like, all right, calm down, mate. But I think they tried to really highlight how stressful this was for everyone, because that's, I think, really spurns Amy's actions at the end of the episode on, for better or worse. So yeah, I really enjoyed that little quiet character moment and a little send-off for that character. Said a lot about him as a character, considering they were literally writing him out of the episode and the show, but they're still taking time to develop him even further just in his final moments. But that was really wonderfully done and very underplayed in a very powerful way. Matt Smith was great in that, and yeah, I just adored that scene.
Yep, I think that's fair enough. I think for me, it's kind of, I was like, before that scene, I was kind of thinking, Ian Glenn's not in this as much, he's not doing as much as I thought he was going to be doing in these 2 parts.
Yeah, pre-Game of Thrones, Jorah.
Yeah, and I know he's had, he had his BBC drama and stuff before that, so he was, probably fairly well known in the UK, and he's still, a fairly big actor, and it's like, he's not really done much. He's kind of commanded people around and sort of talked to River a bit and been a bit mysterious, but then that scene sort of goes, hang on a minute, there is a good character here. And I think that shows the character as a whole in that one scene. And it kind of makes me wish that we had more with him previously, or maybe, with it being time travel and all that kind of stuff, you could have had him reappear further down the line in another way. Maybe Moffat was always thinking maybe they could, and maybe just it never lined up because
And then Game of Thrones started.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Yeah.
So he could have always made an appearance, and it wouldn't surprise me if he, there could be comics and stuff where he appears. Who knows?
In the Target novelization.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it turns out to be a serial killer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the one that
suddenly
killed
don't
the
feel
doctor.
bad for him.
Actually, no, yeah.
He killed the angel. That's what the next
Yeah.
happened was he's actually still alive.
He didn't really die. That was him snapping the arm off when he ran when he ran through. But yes, yeah, I agree. He's definitely. I say the death scene's great. You never really want a
I love
great death scene. But yeah, I do agree that he's definitely sort of one of the highlights of this. In an episode where a lot of the people just disappear and vanish into thin air.
That's what struck me about this one is like how short the cast list is, and the credits was like,
Yeah.
wow, there's like 7 people in this episode.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and what, four of them just vanish. They just go and they don't get a big send off.
And one of them vanished for behind the scenes reasons, which we will get onto.
Oh, amazing, great, okay, fabulous. So my sort of first one, it's kind of links to Octavian's death a little bit, is the Weeping Angels again using powers and stuff to toy with the main characters.
Yeah,
the Weeping Angel didn't need to stand there and hold his neck. He could have broken, if they're as fast as they're supposed to be, he could have broken the neck straight away, and he just drops as the doctor turns around, something like that. Putting the countdown timer on Amy's Weeping Angel head is also, one of the creepiest bits. Like, oh yeah, they're just doing it for shits and gigs. I was like, oh my god,
counting down, you can't control it.
Yeah.
And their laugh is horrible.
Yes, they're like the horrible screeching, but the way they sort of toy with their prey, I guess, their victims, is interesting in this one. I do have some issues around sort of how the angels are used elsewhere, but I think the way that they're sort of evil, I guess, in this, and how they interact with the main cast most of the time is very interesting, and I would like to see it more, because when we've seen the Weeping Angels up until Flux, they were kind of just another one of those villains that can be just used as like background fodder and whatever. So it's good that they also had a bit more creepiness about them in Flux, and I like that they did this here. But yeah, so what is your second positive?
Yeah, well, mine kind of ties into that, because mine's just the Weeping Angels in general. And I put in particular how they're characterized in this. I like the vindictive. It's like a cat playing with a mouse, like waiting for it to die. And I really like kind of that. They don't necessarily at this point. They seemingly achieved what they wanted to achieve by breaking them all out, and they're getting strong and everything. And I that's what I quite like about this, in terms of like a continuation of the story. It's like, however you feel about it, because I don't personally like it, but the Daleks scuppering the Cybermen's invasion in Doomsday, I like that we have the Cracking Time in part 2. It's kind of like scuppering the Weeping Angels plans, and I'm like, oh shit, we need to run away from this now. I'm like, screw anything else we had planned. So I quite like that kind of changing up of them, and how they almost become desperate by the end. And you're like, well, Doctor, you should just sacrifice yourself then. I just like how pitiful they kind of become at the end, while still being terrifying and scary. And they're still like, well, if we have to go out, at least let's terrify these fuckers.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And again, how they're shot and everything. I personally love seeing them move. I think it's really, really scary. I find that much scarier than just, appearing closer when we're not looking at them, which I know is their whole deal. And I still think that's effective and stuff. But I love that. I love how they look. I love how they're shot. When they're like shooting all the bullets at them, then they're coming closer through all of that. When it first appears in like the hole near the start of the episode, I think that's like my favorite shot of a Weeping Angel ever. Maybe with the exception of the smiling one in the Angels Take Manhattan, because I think that's also creepy as hell. But yeah, I love the Weeping Angels. So they are good. I enjoy them, and I like their character in this one. Angel Bob and everything, still doing good work. That voice actor playing that part, I thought that was fun. And yeah, again, something a bit different with them by making them quite this vindictive and playful, and also kind of making them a bit desperate towards the end. I thought that was quite cool. So yeah, I enjoyed them as always.
Yes, that's fair. I think with the Angels, we'll touch on the Angels moving now.
No, don't touch the Angels.
No,
do what you shouldn't do.
I think I was sort of on the fence going into this, and on the whole, I liked it. I liked it where it sort of where it felt like it was a statue head moving. I think the first one that moves feels too human, and it feels like too, it can move.
That was just after they said cut, and the actress was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, probably. But the other ones, it feels like it's properly like a ball on a thing where it has to turn like that, rather than it being human. And I preferred that. I preferred where it still felt like it was on joints.
What's so scary about it for me is that their faces still just don't move. They're still like statues and stuff. I love that. You can't necessarily, you don't know for sure they're actively like looking right at her, like eye contact or anything, but just the move. I think that's so cool. I didn't realize quite how many of them actually move, but it like really escalates them all like slowly turning one by one. So I think it's quite effective. But I do also completely get people not liking that.
Yeah. I think it should be used sparingly. Well, I think both ways they move should be used sparingly, because nobody really wants the constant jump scares if they have to be moving, and the constant light flickering on and off, which can be a pain. So I get why they sort of wanted to do something differently, so they don't have to come up with a way for them to move on camera without making the lights go off. So I can see why they've done it from a production standpoint as well. But yeah, I think I don't mind it, but I just preferred everyone but the first one, where it felt a bit too actory, as too much of an actor in a suit, that one, whereas
very dramatic,
statue. But yeah, overall I liked it, and we'll see why people don't, because change, nobody likes change. It's always bad.
Heaven forbid.
Never good. Yeah, God. First the Daleks, now the Weeping Angels. Moffat's really ruining these characters. Unbelievable.
Rest in peace, Doctor Who.
So my second positive is the foreshadowing.
Foreshadow.
Obviously, the crack is a big foreshadow in this. Naturally, it foreshadows the date of the finale, the 26th of June. Although it doesn't specify the year, but
it's so close to being bang on.
I know it cuts. It doesn't show you. It says 201, and then I think it cuts away. It doesn't specify 2010 in this one. I think it does in the finale, but I think it cuts away before it reveals that. But yeah, I quite like that moment. I like the fact that it foreshadows what's going to happen to Rory in 4 episodes time, where they just go and disappear. Although his is arguably worse, because his feels like a death, whereas these were just sort of gone.
Yeah, we don't see it.
Yeah.
So they're not dying as they're being absorbed by it, like Rory was.
Yeah, exactly. And then also the big foreshadow of them all is the Doctor returning to speak to Amy when he's got his jacket back on, after he's gone away. After I realized that was a thing, I didn't realize that was a thing until I rewatched the episodes, closer together, probably when I got the DVDs when I was younger. But now that I know it's there, I'm like, haha, that's fun. That's a fun little trick they did. Because it's interesting. You wouldn't have noticed that if you were just watching this episode casually. You wouldn't have paid attention, because they don't quite put it in focus, and they don't quite put enough of it on the screen.
I didn't realize until the finale. I'm like, oh, it's this.
It could be a production error. It could be like, oh, whoops, silly BBC. He doesn't have his jacket on in this one, yet they've made him look like that. Fools.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where he goes, oh, you got to trust me, I'm working it out. And then obviously in the finale, you see him go away and look at himself and then come back. And it's all, I just like that. I like the little teasers we get, and just sort of the stuff that links into the overarching narrative. I do really like in this one. And I think it's done very well. Again, I do think maybe it comes out a little bit out of nowhere in terms of the Weeping Angel plots. It's like, oh, here we go, we're going to throw this in as well, because there's no real setup for that in the first part. I think it could have done with some more groundwork in the first part, maybe, to somehow establish it. Say there was strange energy readings coming out with the radiation mix as well. Just a little line in somewhere that sort of hints that there's something else going on would have been useful. But overall, I do like the addition of the sort of crashy time and how it all impacts on the Doctor's life outside of the finale and then sort of Matt Smith's last episode. So I really did like that. So yeah, what is your third and final positive?
Yeah, my third and final is a direct continuation of the Crack in Time story arc.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, basically everything you said. But yeah, I like that. they took the story arc kind of idea for the new era in a slightly different direction. You know, you don't want to just do exactly the same rinse and repeat formula of like there are these things kind of in the background. You might notice them, you might not, and then it's like in the finale, you're like, oh, I see these posters in the background. It all meant this and stuff. I like that they started out kind of doing that in the first few, and then they have like a whole ass episode directly addressing like this is a thing that's going on. This is a thing that's going to continue to plague us. You know, really delving into what the Cracks in Time do. Everything with that, I think it's a really cool way of kind of changing up how the story arc kind of unfolds. And yeah, I just there's something about the Crack in Time thing. I think like the image of the crack, which is you know a phrase that I said. I think that's quite an iconic image for this era. So I do like seeing it kind of brought up and directly addressed like this. You know, kind of as we approach the middle point of the series. I do like that there's this whole big deal, people kind of being a bit rewarded for sticking with the series. You know, at the start they set it up, in the middle they directly address it, and then at the end it probably comes back up. You know, I think that kind of keeps the engagement there for people who may be tuning in and out. There's still a good chance that they're going to be aware of like the behind the scenes story arc going on. So I think that's quite a clever thing to do at the middle of the series as well, and especially when people would have tuned in to watch the Weeping Angels come back by word of mouth alone. Some people would just tune in for that because obviously they were such a huge smash after Blink. So they are going to get the information they need if they did tune into this two-parter. And yeah, I just like that they directly address that. 'Cause I think seeing the Crack in Time in every episode thus far after, you know, the first one, and with the exception of the last one, obviously, you know, that could have just been like, okay, yes, this again. We know, you know, a pattern was very quickly forming. And while things like Bad Wolf or Torture stuff, it was more so background stuff because that's how it's approached. You know, they made an effort to show the Crack in Time in every single episode. Like, yes, you should be noticing this. I think that would have gotten very tired very quickly. So I'm glad they just had an episode being like, okay, this is what it's all about. Now we can have a bit of a rest. Because I don't know when it next comes up. I think it is Cold Blood now is when we next kind of get that. So we have 3 or 4 episodes off.
No, in the next episode, there's the whole, can you hear that? And there's nothing, and they can't.
Oh yeah, silence.
Yeah.
But it's not a Crack in Time,
I
suppose.
No.
It ultimately ties into that, but it's not like the image of the Crack in Time. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think it's quite fun that they break it up because it's kind of the real start of, you know, this era being like, we're going to do something very, very different with story arcs. So here it is.
And then when Chibnall does that in his series, it's bad. Why did you do that, Chibnall? Why did you do this whole thing in the middle?
It's terrible.
Bad. How did you do it?
How could you follow this with Praxis, Chibnall?
Oh god, yeah, that's the real crime. But yes, my sort of third one is just sort of the tension throughout that's built, especially around Amy's obviously trying to escape the Weeping Angels with the one in her head, and the countdown that's going around that, and sort of just the Weeping Angels and the general tension and drama that there is. You know, it comes back to Beast Below not having anything in it that was sort of tense and moving the story along. This one feels very much like, oh my god, can you hurry up and be safe, please? Because I am too stressed. And I think that it's done really well in this one. There's a couple of issues I have with one which will come on later on. But overall, I do like how this one does feel dangerous. It does feel like anyone could die at any point, given the fact that 3 people do die. Obviously, the 3 that's 5 are our main characters, so that's fine. Effectively, there's some plot armor involved.
Yeah, we've already seen River die, so they couldn't exactly kill her.
No, I mean, you never know. She could have been a fake. She could have been a hologram person, like she was in Name of the Doctor. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah,
she was in there, but only Matt Smith could see her in that one, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, I did like how tense it was and how sort of there was a threat there, and I did feel there was a threat. If it wasn't going to be the Angels, it was going to be this crack that was coming after them, because everybody loves Moffat's crack. So.
And you see, Time was the villain in this story, and Time's the villain in Jodie's era as well. So
it's just all about how you personify Time.
It's all connected.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, have you got any other sort of positives you want to touch on?
I like River Song and the kind of continuing mystery of her. I like her teasing the Pandorica at the end of the series. Them teasing that she killed, the best man she ever knew. Who is it going to
Hint,
be?
wink, wink.
I wonder. I think that's what I like about the River Song stuff. Is most of the time you pose these questions like, who is she to the Doctor?
The obvious
Who
answers.
did she kill? Yeah, the first answer you think of are the right answers, and the fun is like waiting to get that confirmed or not. And then there's like you get an answer, but then there's more questions to it. But she's also this companion's daughter, and she's also got these regeneration powers and stuff like that. And she's also being forced to kill the Doctor because of this thing going on with the eye patch. So I really enjoy kind of them setting up that, especially because we've seen, I imagine, all of that story played out at this point. I don't know what happens in the Big Finish stuff. I mean, you never know. I thought River Song was done, and they brought her back in Husbands of River Song. So who can say?
Yeah.
Then again, I mean, that was now 7 years ago, and we still haven't seen her. So it's probably been and gone until she shows up in the 60th anniversary, of course.
Yeah, she will. She will. I think she will show up in the 60th. Of 3 episodes.
We've manifested enough about.
I mean,
and to be fair, with some behind the scenes stuff from filming yesterday,
it could be.
I just consider that she could very easily become back, but I won't delve into that
there's always
there's
always a chance.
I like the continuing mystery of what's going on with her.
Yeah, I think also again as last week, I think the dynamic when they're working together, I think the dynamic between River and Amy and the Doctor is sort of good. I think it puts River and the Doctor sort of on the same level playing field again, because they both sort of notice that Amy's doing this countdown thing and they're both trying to figure out the situation. River rescues Amy from the Angels and all that kind of jazz. I think they're really good. I think that obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the idea of an angel being inside your head and like trying to control you is an interesting one. I'm sure they will use it again in the next 10 years after this.
I mean, if they did, people would complain. Oh, they're so tired and overdone.
Yeah.
People already complained about that, and they didn't repeat the idea. So
I know. Oh, but yeah, it's fine. Overall, I'd say it's pretty positive. But unfortunately, we do have to talk about our negatives. And I'm going to take a stab at what both of our first ones will be. Roughly the last 2 to 3 minutes, when Amy throws herself at the Doctor despite many protests. Yes, I think we're just. If this, to be fair, if that happened in Jodie's era, there would be a mass uproar. All sorts would be going on.
If they did do this nowadays, if someone had written that nowadays, they would have absolutely yeeted that into the sunset. Not doing that.
Yes. And it is very uncomfortable. I mean, I think you don't want to justify it, but you can see where she's coming from in terms of.
I see her state of mind and what she's in. I also think in season 5 she's not a particularly great person, as we've seen with previous companions. So that also will lead into it. But I think the worst part of it is that it's played for jokes and played for laughs. And it's supposed to be like, oh, what's she like kind of scene.
She's like, just having a bit of fun.
Dare you? It's just weird.
Yes, and I agree. I mean, there's not too much else to say other than it's just not. We'll probably touch on it a bit more, but Moffat definitely has he pushes the line sometimes in terms of these kinds of things, I think, innuendos and all that jazz. And I think this is one of the more obvious examples of things like that.
Yeah, this one was in poor taste.
Yes. Most of them are good and are played for jokes. Most of them are fine, just
most of them are just
jokey
harmless
things. Whereas I think this one's just a bit like, nah. Especially not with now we have the context of sort of what might or might not have happened in series 1 and 2 of the show, which Moffat was a part of and did right on. So he probably would have been aware of things like that if they were happening, and if they were reported and all that, he probably would have some idea at least. So yeah, it's just not great.
But we can't confirm that. That's not.
No. That's why it's yes and no. Either way, it is in poor taste. I know it was 2010. It was 12 years ago. But at the same time, it was only 12 years ago. It wasn't like this episode came out in 1982, where, it's. I'm not saying.
And he has since apologised for it and said he was which
Yeah.
some people who've been involved in those scandals refuse to do. Not naming names.
So it'll be interesting to see if that scene is in when they do the Target novelization.
Yeah,
See if it is,
I imagine
if
they'd
they
have
ever
changed
do
it
it.
up.
Yeah.
I'd hope they just turn and just like tries to kiss him or something. Like, no, this is inappropriate. Let's go.
Yeah, they don't
Rather
keep
than
trying to
bang me off
yeah,
my bed.
yeah. It's a quick attempt and then a no and then a oh what and then we need to go see your husband and that be it. It doesn't need to do anything more than that. But yeah, I mean, it could have been a nice scene about Amy coming to terms with her wedding coming up, and that could have played off really well. And the doctor being like, "Oh yeah, Gary, get married. We can bring your husband along." But there has to be some kind of tension there.
At
the
least
same
we've
time,
reached the worst of this now.
yes, it's all. I say it's all downhill. It's all uphill now for
Yeah.
Amy. I think, and it
Yeah.
does. This does set the stage for her.
This
like,
is for
redemption
me.
arc.
This is her worst moment by far. So I'm
Yeah,
glad we're past it.
Yeah, and
Whereas
it's
Rose kept having them.
Yeah. And Rory gets his revenge in a few episodes' time anyway when he shoots her. So
Yeah, exactly.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yes, your second negative. What is it? God, picture it the whole time there.
Yeah. My second negative. Oh yeah. Again, that was my only real problem with the episode. This one, but
Yeah.
not that one. We'll talk about that final scene because that's just gross. But yeah, I had to come up with more, and they do kind of annoy me, but I can get over it. But it's always bothered me. But it's raising the stakes of like you can't open your eyes for even a second or you'll die. And then she stares at the crack in time for like 10 seconds. Like, I kind of get it because clearly the crack in time is having an effect on the angels and doing something weird with them. So I'm guessing it like paused it or like put it off because she was staring at the crack in time. But it's still always really annoyed me. I'm like, you should drop dead right now, Missy.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It literally is
ages.
It's at least like 6 or 7 seconds, and it's always bothered me. It wouldn't bother me as much if they hadn't been like, you can't open your eyes for even a second.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Just say that there's a chance that it could happen now if you open your eyes, and it's like, but I have to know. I got to know. I would happily have my eyes closed for the rest of the time. I'd happily go to sleep. Yeah, that's always just really bothered me. That. So there we go.
Yeah, that's fair. If you've got a countdown, you've got to stick to the countdown. Especially when it's in real time, which this obviously was effectively. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a specific time where she'd count down from 9 to like 8 to like 7. I don't think there was like every 10 seconds you count down or something. So in theory, you could argue, it's when the angels decide to do it or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I do agree. I wrote that down. I wrote, is it going to be there still? No, I did make a note, but it was like, not even for 1 second, and then like 2 things down. I was like, that's been longer than a second. So yeah, it's unnecessary. So my sort of negative one, again, it's a little bit nitpicky. It's the fact that the angels just assume Amy is looking at them when she's walking around them. I'm like, sorry? They surround her, and then they're just like, she must see us. And it just feels it just doesn't. These are supposed to be really smart beings. I know they're like being distracted by the crack, and their focus isn't on her or whatever. But then they like turn around and look at her when she stumbles. Like, well, clearly they're aware of her, and clearly they are like, hang on a minute, maybe we should do that. And then surely if they're suddenly aware, they can then move really fast to get her. But they take ages to get her when they.
Yeah, they should move fast. That I do agree with. Yeah.
But then it's a case of surely. Obviously don't know how the angels actually work and all that kind of thing. But I always assumed that they couldn't move no matter what if they were being looked at. So if all of a sudden they were like, hey, hang on a minute, we can move. She can't see us. Get her.
Yeah, I think it's them like working out that they actually are able to. I think because like before it'd be like, okay, it's dark, they clearly can't see us, so let's go. But the lights were still on in the forest and everything. They couldn't look directly at Amy's face as she's walking past them. They don't necessarily know. They also, if I fuck up here and look at another of my pals, we're both quantum locked forever. So probably need to be wary of that as well.
I mean,
there's that. Yeah. But I do agree they should have just, as soon as they realize they can move, there you go.
And they can, they because they surround her in the first place, and it's like, well, clearly they know she's there, so surely they would be focusing on her. I know there's a crack and whatever, and I don't like that they just go, they're distracted. I'm like, what? The whole point was that they were taking these people out. I know that the crack's there and they're sort of wanting to decide it, but all of them. I don't know. I just think.
Think of all that delicious food.
I know. Well, apparently they can't eat anyway, so.
Oh no, but it's still nice and shiny.
Yeah, so I think that's just it's a bit more of a nitpick than anything else, but it's just like it just annoys me because it's this whole thing of they just think you can see them and therefore they're not moving rather than you can see them and they don't move. I think it changes it a bit too much, and then it kind of just implies like you need to be like I can see you, and then they'll be like oh shit, and then they'll stop. That's how I'm gonna imagine. That's how you solve the situation from now on. Is when Rory's in the basement with the babies in Angels Take Manhattan, he just needs to be like, oh, I can see you, little baby boys, and then they'll stop and not move, and he can leave. But
I suppose that's because it is dark in the basement. And they know for a fact.
Yeah. But do they know he doesn't have night vision eyes? He might have gone to an alien planet and got.
I think they know.
You never know. But how? But how do they know? I think that's the problem. Is that there's no way of them confirming or denying these things. And it would have just been easier.
This is 0 out of 10 episode because they don't know Rory has alien eyes.
Yes, exactly. Eyes. How dare they? But I think they. I don't know what they could have done differently. To be fair, I think they just kind of wrote themselves into the corner for that one.
I see. I can't improve it, but it's bad.
Again, maybe they could have just kept one of the soldier people there and gone, and then teleported them out, and then not have the worry of just have the incremental them getting closer and closer, and then still end it as they get teleported out right at the last minute. But I don't know. It just bothered me a little bit. But I can still get over it. It's fine. So what is your third negative?
Third, yes. Yeah. Again, this is an every TV show thing, but just the soldiers being so incompetent. They're terrible.
I mean, come on, it's not their fault when they get got by the crack.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they actively look away from the angels. Like, like one at a time, lads. These are Octavian's best of the best men, as he said himself. And then like, wait, one of you look at whatever that is. Like, we need to keep the eyes on the angels because we know the one thing about them is that we should be looking at them. But they all go, what's that? Yeah. And they're like, no, you hold that girl down and stop her from opening her goddamn eyes. Like, do your bloody job.
Okay, you can open your eye just for a second, though.
Yeah, it's not their fault when they like all vanish and disappear and they forget, because of course it's going to be that same scenario again and again. But everything outside of that, they're pretty shocking at their jobs. So they all deserved it, quite frankly. I think the universe is a better place now they're all gone.
Yeah.
So that's me. That's my little nitpick.
Worst thing is Octavian won't even be able to tell their families because their families won't remember they existed. So
exactly, so it's fine. Problem solved.
No loss.
Family,
no one really
died. Suffer, but
yeah.
Although to be fair, probably if that crack in time thing kept expanding, he probably got absorbed by it eventually anyway. So
I guess there's the whole if you die and get absorbed by the crack, does that wipe you out, or is it just?
Well, Rory died and then got absorbed.
Was he dead or was he dying?
Yeah, he died.
I thought he was just dying and then got.
No, he dies.
Oh, well, we'll find out in 4 weeks' time.
I mean, I know for a fact that he dies, but okay. I rewatched this era.
He dies a lot. Okay, it's hard to keep track.
I don't say for a fact that this happened.
Oh, I don't know. If they don't close their eyes, I just assume that they're not dead.
Well, he does close his eyes and dies.
Oh, well, I will take your word for it until
he goes, "I'm sorry," and then dies. We'll get there.
Poor guy.
But yeah, again, it's a nitpicky one. The only thing that really bothers me is that final scene. But it's not really a Doctor Who thing. It's just a TV thing that soldiers are often quite shit for plots reasons. Yeah. They are.
Yep, that's fair. My sort of last major one is still a bit of a nitpick. Is that sound effects that they give Matt Smith for his hands? When he does like the spin thing and he goes, zzz, zzz, and I'm like, what? You don't need to do that. And then when he's like figuring out the way to go, it's like, I'm like, what? Why are you giving his hands sound effects? And I was like,
I think you're going insane. I do not remember.
I swear to God. There is. It's when River, Octavian, and the Doctor are like stood at the hatch waiting to find a way in. Just before River goes in, he does. Or no, sorry, just after River's gone in, just before Octavian gets got, he does like this weird like a circle thing, and it makes like as if he's like moving a wheel or a gear with his hand. And I was like, this is just unnecessary. It's an unnecessary sound effect.
Okay.
It's the big. They do it with Capaldi where he gets like hit in the head and it makes like the cartoon.
Yeah, that one I've noticed.
Head hit one.
Yeah, that one's not great.
It's a similar one to that, except it's just a bit more like I'm like, why? You can just have him being like weird like that. You don't need to add in sound effects. So yeah, go back and watch it, and you will not be able to unhear them.
Yeah, it's going to be another thing that I can't unsee now. There's no one here.
Yes, sorry. But yeah, that's just the thing. And then sort of a couple of minor ones. The CGI angels at the start.
Yeah, that was
terrible, horrible. They're
really
just
not good.
They show them twice, and it's like, no, please. That it just the CGI background looks terrible.
I could make that
these look terrible.
Like how that worked.
I could do that on Canva, mate. That's it's worse than the YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah,
it's just not. It wasn't the best. And also, the fact that the angels grabbed the 11th Doctor and then just let him go. I'm like, come on, lads, you can do better than that. just get him. You've got him. You want him, and then you let him go. And that's the whole sort of. It builds the tension. Like, oh, how's he gonna get out of it? How's he gonna get out of it? And then they just go, yeah, we just wanted that tension bit. There doesn't have to be any consequences for this. Let's just let him go. They just needed him to lose the jacket, and that was it.
Yeah, he seems like they say that he distracts them by telling him exactly what the Kraken time is, and then I guess that's his cue to leave. But yeah, they probably could have chased after him again after that.
Yeah, because he's not exactly looking over his shoulder and watching them as they praise the crack. But
I guess it's one of those things where they change their priorities when they find out what the crack is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, you're not important anymore. And then they're like, we need.
And then they're like, oh shit, you are important. We should let you go.
When they actually realise that it's growing, like, oh no, we actually should have probably kept him.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy. But yes, that's sort of it for my negatives. Have you got any other sort of final points you want to hit on?
I do not think so. No.
Fair enough. I think the other one I sort of mentioned to you this earlier is that I think 11's a bit too rude to River and Amy in this one. He tells them to shut up and be quiet a lot, and I'm like, that's probably not something good for kids to watch.
It's one of those weird things, isn't it? And like sometimes, every now and again, I think they just write the Doctor a bit too. Like Smith and Jones, he's like rude for no reason, and like here, he's rude for like no reason. It's very, it's a weird one.
I mean, it can be used for comedic effect at times, and it can be used really well at times. You know, with the 10th Doctor shushing the street, the 11th Doctor often shushing Rory and stuff like that. But most of the time, it just comes off as quite rude and unnecessary. And I think there's a little bit after this, especially like towards River, it's like, just shut up, I'm trying to think. And I'm like, all right, mate.
There is one where I think it's a front, so the angels don't realise like we're about to trick you here. I mean, he's like telling them to get a grip and stuff. I think that's kind of all setting that up.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there's moments I'm like, all right, mate, pipe down.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. That's it from me. What fun facts have you got? I'm interested to find out about the soldier extra boy.
Yeah, it's not that exciting. But, in fact, it's the very first one I've written down.
Well, hey.
It was actually a fun fact for the Time of Angels on that wiki, but I was like, no, this is for next week, so I've saved it.
Okay.
Because there's not actually that many this week, which is fine. I saved one. But anyway, wet conditions constantly plagued the shoot in the woodland for this episode, forcing considerable rescheduling of filming. One consequence of this was that Stephen Waters couldn't complete his scenes as the cleric Crispin, so his lines were shared between the other clerics instead. Another rewrite by Moffat gave the Doctor a line explicitly acknowledging the rain. So there you go. Plagued by rain.
Yeah, always. That's why they're filming the
but
summer.
I'm
now.
So desperate for rain right now because it's so like even just writing that, I was like, oh god, I wish that would.
Look, at least you're not wearing a big costume and having to run about in the city heat to film this episode.
God. So. Imagine being a weeping angel in like weather like this.
Oh,
absolutely,
no,
just pass out and die. In an interview in 2020, Stephen Moffat admitted that he shouldn't have played the scene where Amy comes onto the Doctor for laughs, saying it's the one thing about his era he changed. So, you are correct. The title of this episode came from Stephen Moffat's son Joshua as a play on words of Flesh and Bone. Flesh and Bone, by some weird coincidence, and I don't know why, had also been a rumoured title for Gridlock in 2007. Exactly how that came about as a rumour, I don't know, but sure, why not? The date shown at the end of the episode, 26th of the 6th, 2010, would be the air date of the series finale, The Big Bang. We already talked about that briefly. The producers decided to incorporate a lot of blue into Amy's bedroom to show how inspired she'd been by the TARDIS when she was a little girl. So that's nice. Not at all obsessed with all her dolls of him. The Doctor's gesture indicating Rory has a long nose wasn't in the original script. Arthur Darvill had been cast as Rory, but had yet to shoot any scenes. Matt Smith and Arthur Darvill were already old friends, so Smith improvised the gesture on the day.
That's better then.
An absolutely savage beatdown of his friends.
This is
rather
not
than
like
a
he
complete-
didn't.
I haven't even met the guy
Yeah,
yet, and I'm
yeah.
like, he's got a big nose.
At least it's better that they knew each other than just he saw a picture and went, oh,
Yeah.
I think that'd be worse.
Luckily, they had been
Yeah.
friends for years prior, so
That's good then.
that's nice. Stephen Moffat came up with this two-parter upon trying to think about the worst possible situation to encounter the Weeping Angels in. His first thought was being blind, which ultimately developed into Amy's predicament in this story. Can you imagine? Like, there's just nothing you could do.
They should
Just
make
take
a
it away.
Weeping Angel episode that is similar to that film where that blind man has that home invasion.
Oh yeah,
The villain from Avatar gets home invaded, but he's blind. They should do that, but Weeping Angels. That would
Yeah.
be very tense.
God. Oh no. Well, I'm not sleeping tonight.
Well,
The beach scenes in this episode were filmed at the same location as Bad Wolf Bay from Doomsday and Journey's End. So that's fun.
and isn't it the same beach for dinosaurs on the spaceship?
I believe so. But that's a fun fact for when that becomes relevant later on down the line.
It's 2
Can't
seasons away yet.
Don't get ahead of yourselves. Karen Gillan found it particularly difficult to film the scene where Amy had to walk with her eyes closed. Who'd have guessed? She had to memorize where the crash mat exactly was on the floor and had to be more expressive in her movements to convey the emotions her eyes otherwise would. So you have to act with your limbs rather than your eyes for once.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, gross. The Doctor's conversation with Amy about what he told her when she was 7 is later revealed to be set up for the series finale, The Big Bang, which we talked about as well. And then finally, Matt Smith had difficulty saying the line, "The forest is full of angels," saying the angel is for the forests instead. This can be seen in the blooper reel on the Series 5 DVD box set. The production team even made t-shirts sporting the error.
Aww.
Again, absolute
Bullying
savage
him.
behind the scenes of Flesh and Stone. Like, everyone was getting in.
The first episode,
Got a
you can't
big
get it
nose.
right.
You can't speak. You've got a big nose. You're
You
ginger.
should have hired you.
You're fired. No, please.
Second episode of filming. No, please, I can get it right. I swear.
I think I did notice actually because I already knew that. I remember that from the gang group. I think I do remember in the actual episode. I don't think on screen he says it. I think it's probably ADR'd. I just don't think he ever got it right, which is hilarious.
Fair.
But there you go.
Filmed it when he was more comfortable in the role. Like in the finale, he was like, "Oh, right, I can
Yeah.
finally say it."
I'll do it again.
I've been working all year on saying this one line. I can do it. Oh God! Well, excellent fun facts. Good to see that there's some nice, gentle bullying going on set during this season. Always.
Are you even
always good
friends
for
if you
morale.
don't gently bully them?
Yeah, exactly.
It's better than some other behind the scenes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it could be worse.
You could have a
but
fight
yes.
and you film in Boomtown. So
what are you rating this episode out of 10?
I'm giving it a solid 8. I very much enjoyed it.
Same.
Hey,
Look at that.
Snaps.
I think that's a point less than I gave it last week.
Yeah, I think the same for me as well. We
just
probably
because
disagree on this
obviously-
story, I think.
I mean, yeah.
Score-wise.
Pretty much. Yeah. I think it was just mainly because I could easily think of negatives for this week, unfortunately. Whereas last week it was quite tricky, which it says enough in itself. But yeah, that's it for this week's episode. I'm sure we will be back next week with some more Doctor Who gossip and news because plenty has been happening this week, which I'm sure we will find some time to talk about. Because as always, Doctor Who keeps on going. It's just
As always.
Yeah.
The show that's on hiatus.
Oh
For like
God, just keeps
14
going.
years.
Just
keeps on
keeps going. But you know, there's been plenty going on this past week. Plenty to talk about, and who knows what next week might bring. There's all sorts of rumors flying around, so we will see. If anything does happen, we'll be back, and we'll be back to talk about some gossips. And then also next weekend as well, we'll be back for Vampires in Venice, of Venice.
I think it's The Vampires of Venice.
There we go.
This
Well,
is like
there
the
you
one
go.
episode title. I can't remember like which one it is,
Yeah.
but it's
So-
something like that. They're a vampire.
Vampires, and they're in Venice. They're also of Venice because they run the town.
Who run this
do
mother
you what do you
Vampires
remember of
Yeah, it's the Vampires of Venice.
Vampires? What do you think of it? How much do you remember?
What do you think of? I can't remember too much of it. Again, I think it's gonna be one of those average run-of-the-mill, middle of the series stories. You know, it does have that kind of feel to it. I'm excited to go back in time again, see what that's like. And yeah, I remember like enjoying the vampire aspect of it. It's going to be very fun to finally have the Doctor, Amy, and Rory all together. So that's kind of how it is for the most part from here on out, until they leave.
till Rory
So-
dies, and then comes
to
back.
Rory dies, and then when Rory dies, and then when Rory dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really remember exactly how much, what exactly goes down and how it all happened and stuff. I enjoyed the Next Time trailer. There seems to be a really cool scene between the Doctor and Rory in that one. I'm like, oh, that should be an interesting one. Kind of bittersweet because obviously Helen McCrory is in this episode and she passed away recently, which is very sad. So I'm looking forward to seeing her in that at least because I know she's a very good actress. I remember the vampire who has mummy issues, like you can't talk about his mother. There's some women yeeting themselves into the water. There's a lot of water in the next one, I think.
I'm Phoenician. I can swim, you know.
Get in there. But yeah, I am excited to see how it all goes down because I can't remember too much of it. But again, I don't think I actively hate it. I might actively hate it, but I can't remember actively hating it. But again, I don't think it's a strong contender for favourite of the series or anything. But I will happily be proved wrong.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, it's always been on the same level as Beast Below, in that it was just another sort of standard run of the mill. It didn't really do anything interesting, plot-wise or character-wise. But as always, I'm happy to be proven wrong.
I remember the Doctor jumping out of the cake at the start, which is great.
Oh yes, where the stripper, I guess, is waiting outside.
They think it's going to be, and then he's like, "Oh, thank God, I finally got it right." He's jumped out of the cake like so many times. Oh,
that'd be the highlight of the episode right at the start.
Yeah, literally the pre-credit sequence is going to be like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Before we even get to the Vampires of Venice.
Oh God. But yes, that is coming next week. Hopefully it'll be a good time. And by all means, come back to that then. Okay, bye.
Bye.